Hello everyone, and now welcome to a game between TeD versus ReMinD. Two players who really don't need any introduction. TeD spawning as the red undead on the top right hand side of the map. Meanwhile, ReMinD spawning as the blue night elf. Let's go ahead and speed things up just a little bit, get things underway in this night elf versus undead matchup. Altar of Elders being summoned off over here. Not quite sure why there was a ping. Keeper of the Grove, Ancient of War. Nothing too out of the ordinary, going up against a Death Knight with ghouls. All right, going to slow things down as we hit the 2-minute 15-second mark. Death Knight out and about, already sold the Scroll of Town Portal, and it looks as though he's going to be going for a fast expansion attempt. Keeper of the Grove already has other ideas, wanting to perhaps shut down any expansion attempt. He does not have any abilities trained as of yet. Could go for Entangles, could summon for some Treants, and Treants are there. All right, however, the Treants, one of them does get ensnared. That does cause a problem. Keeper of the Grove hoping to get the final shot off onto that last hit there. Keeper of the Grove, I do not believe, got the experience, as we're looking at the Ziggurat now getting pressured as well. Ziggurat now down. We are looking at a Wisp now being brought back over. Are we perhaps going to be getting some detonations onto this army here? There it is, taking down all of those skeletal minions as the Death Knight with 4 ghouls pushes back the Archer and the Keeper of the Grove. Keeper of the Grove still sitting at level 1 and not yet at level 2, as we do not have any entangles underway. All right, after casting a game, an entertaining game from not pros, it feels like the pacing of this game is just absolutely different. The aggression, the movement, and making every second count. And that is really the difference between professional players and non-professional players. The pacing of the game. If you've ever watched your own replays, compared to some of the pro replays out there, it feels like your game is moving in slow motion, even though it is not. Death Knight now at level 2, coming back around, does pick up some double Rod of Necromancy. It looks as though we are getting up an Ancient Protector on the far side here, so ReMinD knows that TeD really wants to set up an expansion, but instead TeD is actually going after a tech to tier 2. Tech to tier 2 are underway compared to ReMinD, who has about a 15-second lead. That is not going to translate to very much, as the Keeper of the Grove looks to absorb a little bit of damage, going after the Forest Troll Berserkers here. We do have Huntresses out here on the battlefield. She did get ensnared, and well, this is going to turn into a little bit of a bad proposition, as the Huntress is now back out. The Entangle only reveals compared to who actually entangled it, so that Huntress, although it was entangled, was not targetable by TeD. Coming back around, Entangle onto the Ghoul again. Keeper of the Grove, coming in from the backside here, perhaps could try and get off another, not Entangle, Ensnare. Get an Entangle off onto one of the units to try and pick them off as well. If I look at my replays, who is that noob? Yeah, doesn't it often feel that way? All right, coming back around, we do see an Ancient Protector. ReMinD actually built an Ancient Protector, and notice that his opponent was not going for the expansion. Said, so you know what? I'm just going to move my stationary static defense a little bit closer to you. Just a little bit closer to you, and that's exactly what he does. All right, Ancient Protector is right here. He's trying to eat his way through the trees, but, well, now completely revealed as ReMinD, well, now just pushing on through once more, eating trees, and I don't know if that was purposeful just to try and, well, make it more difficult to harvest lumber. That seems like a very inefficient way. You're just eating trees so that all of a sudden the ghouls have a difficult time getting to and from their their lumber harvesting locations, making the overall lumber harvesting that much slower. That would be a weird strategy, right? You're playing, you're going through your trees, and then you suddenly realize that all the trees behind the trees you're harvesting are completely gone because the night elf has eaten them all. That would be rather strange, I got to admit, and though a bit amusing. Yep. Coming back around here, Keeper of the Grove now back down to the south. We are looking at the Alchemist joining in. So this Alchemist strategy, Keeper of the Grove Alchemist strategy, opens up well to try and keep your army alive. Acid Bomb also works out well to try and focus down a handful of units. Coming back on through, we are going into Dual Ancients of Wind. All right, ReMinD going into Dual Ancients of Wind, and not what I was expecting at all. Are we perhaps going to be going into mass fairy dragons? Fairy dragons are rather effective since they are magic immune, and we don't see any, well, crypt fiends out here onto the map yet. Lich is already training up as we are teching to tier 3 and building up a slaughterhouse. Undead of TeD not able to really get as much gold as he wants since he isn't running up on 2 bases, but we are getting up the slaughterhouse. We are going to get that Ultra of Darkness with that Lich, and we will be getting that Orb of Corruption when it is ready. Sasquatch going to get taken down here. Lich finally out here onto the battlefield. Keeper of the Grove sitting at level 2. Alchemist is getting closer to level 3. Has Dust of Appearance, Claws of Attack +5. May want a Ring of Protection or 2 to help offset its relatively low armor. The Keeper of the Grove with almost 7 armor might actually have more effective hit points than a level 1 Alchemist with level 1 armor. I'll have to do the math on that later, or check out my Warcraft 3 video about armor for more details later. Anyways, coming back through, Alchemist going after the Ogre Magi. There is an Acid Bomb right there. No healing spray yet. Tome of Intelligence now picked up. Keeper of the Grove now coming back around. We are looking at a Tree of Life already moving into position. ReMinD able to set up a Tree of Life during this time as we see, well, Chemical Rage as the second ability instead of Healing Spray. All right, Chemical Raging Alchemist now continuing to fight here once more as the Alchemist, well, trying to fight back around. However, the Keeper of the Grove could have a very, very bad day indeed. There is a Death Coil Frost Nova Healthstone used in time and turns back around into an Entangle as the Death Knight now taking a little bit of damage. Death Coil going on to the Huntress, but the Huntress able to get a little bit of Moon Juice as well. Stays alive at 43 hit points. Little bit of bounce damage back. Death Knight now looking to retreat as well. Still taking a bit of damage from that Acid Bomb's damage over time. Now, Tree of Eternities are in fact training up Fairy Dragons. Has a spell immunity. Cannot be targeted. Don't have to worry about Death Coil or Frost Nova. Do have to worry about Crypt Fiends though. That also can do large amounts of damage to Obsidian statues who just continually try and heal up all of those units on the back here. All right, where are these Fairy Dragons going to go? I think I do remember Moon going for a mass Fairy Dragon strategy in the past. Is this going to become the new meta? The races that have a decent, or Night Elf just having a decent time against Undead because, well, they have units that can attack Destroyers that are magic immune. All right, Ghouls continuing to fight back around, finishing things off here. Lich does have that Orb of Corruption, 44 supply compared to 42. TeD slightly behind as the Fairy Dragons going to town after these Null Wardens here. All right, Alchemist still saying that level 2. Tome of Agility +2 going to get picked up. Does have a Sobi Mask. This last Null Warden will end up getting taken down. Fairy Dragons do get phase shifted a little bit around as the Death Knight and Lich coming in from behind. There's a Frost Nova hitting the, well, Alchemist and a couple of Huntresses, but that is absolutely it. Death Coil following up onto a Huntress, followed by, well, the piercing damage of those Crypt Fiends. Ancient of War taking quite a bit of damage now, trying to eat up some trees, trying to open things up. Acid Bomb across multiple units. Alchemist could be in trouble, getting a little bit surrounded, but currently okay. Fairy Dragons are, well, pulled down and then getting focused down by the Crypt Fiends and those Ghouls since they are now on the ground, as the Alchemist can turn back around and continue to fight. Acid Bomb could be thrown across multiple Ghouls here. Level 3 now on the Alchemist. Level 3 Acid Bomb goes down, and that's going to cause a little bit of damage over time as well. Fairy Dragons can continue to fight. The Acid Bomb is actually ticking away at many of those lower hit point Ghouls, and there's no Obsidian statue any longer. And, well, we're looking at the Fairy Dragons trying to fight back against the Destroyers. Crypt Fiends able to web down some of those units as the Alchemist continuing to drop Acid Bombs across multiple units, and you can see this damage over time really ticking away on this Ghoul and now Crypt Fiend army. Another Acid Bomb across multiple units here could cause a bit of problems. Keeper of the Grove low on hit points, continuing to fight back. Fairy Dragons looking for targets and to finish off here, as there goes a Death Coil once again. Chemical Rage now on the Alchemist. Alchemist, Acid Bomb cooldown just not enough. Can he give a parting gift? No, he cannot, as he is teleported away and a bit far. Ancient of War now trying to retreat back as well. Lower hit point Ghouls realizing, wait, I do not want to deal with a higher with a full hit point Keeper of the Grove and a full hit point Alchemist from those Moonwells just quite yet, as we see some repairs underway. Ancient of War massively being repaired by all of the wisps that were in that entangled gold mine. Chemical Raging Alchemist coming back the other side, trying to focus down some of those units, taking quite a bit of damage. It gets entangled to get finished off. There goes a Death Coil, Frost Nova, Staff of Preservation, Chemical Rage trying to retreat away once more after finishing off some of those units, as the Fairy Dragons are getting slowly picked off as well. ReMinD down to 37, 41 supply compared to 48. It looks as though the Goblin Tinker, the third and final hero, coming in from the Undead with the Pocket Factory, able to put in enough pressure onto some of these buildings here. Crypt Fiends looking to try to web down some of these Fairy Dragons, as well as the Death Knight gets up to level 4, opening up level 2 Unholy Aura and faster hit and run maneuvers. Alright, Ancient Protector doing its best to, well, poke damage onto the Death Knight here, but it doesn't look like it will add back up much unless ReMinD is able to really make a play. ReMinD has more wisps than more workers than his opponent. Therefore, his army is even that much smaller, 26 supply compared to 42, as more repairs are underway here. Ancient of War trying to, well, make its presence known and felt as an acid bomb goes down on that front line. Fairy Dragons getting poked across. Crypt Fiends now trying to retreat, taking quite a bit of damage. Entangled now onto the Crypt Fiend here. Crypt Fiend could easily get taken down. It ends up, I believe, being a Dark Ritual there, as the fighting is still underway. More damage added on through. Chemical Raging Alchemist trying to catch up. There is another, well, no, that's just an natural air attack, as another Crypt Fiend gets taken down. Fairy Dragon's going to have easy times now against the Destroyers, as there's only one Crypt Fiend left. Actually, no Crypt Fiends left, just a little bit of web left behind. Lich sits at level 3, now with level 2 Frost Nova. Went for Dark Ritual first over Frost Armor, hence being able to deny any units that, well, were a little bit out of position. Keeper of the Grove and Alchemist both sitting at level 3. TeD's units, level 4, level 3, level 2, almost level 3 as well, as we're looking at a bit of additional creeping going down. Sasquatch, and they easily get taken out here in just a second. It finally gets taken down, dropping a Gloves of Haste. That should be picked up by the Keeper of the Grove for an even faster attack speed. 53 supply compared to 47, now going into low upkeep. ReMinD may end up losing this Ancient of War in this frontline position here. Now units are trying to make their way back over. Pocket Factory coming online once more, as the, well, Pocket Factory and those Treants should be trying to engage here with really no problem whatsoever. A bit of repairing underway as the Goblin Tinker now coming back over. Fairy Dragons looking to back up. Ancient of War trying to get out of or into a proper position. TeD, ReMinD both sitting at low upkeep now. ReMinD, however, smaller army, even though he has the economic advantage still. However, the economic advantage now neutralized. TeD has the expansion off to the north. TeD will be able to rebuild his army just as quickly, but the Fairy Dragons are now starting to take control of the skies, and there's just not enough Crypt Fiends to reach critical mass to deal with the Fairy Dragons that are here. Chemical Raging Alchemist now trying to dive on in, trying to finish off some of those units. Acid Bomb going down. However, it looks as though the Crypt Fiend was going to be able to survive. However, still able to catch up. Fairy Dragon continuing the dive on in, and Fairy Dragons with their magic immunity saying, you know what, Lich, I don't care if you try and acid, or if you try and Frost Nova my high hit point hero in the frontline spot. I am still really, really strong, as Fairy Dragons are just absolutely owning all of these Crypt Fiends. ReMinD sitting at 56 supply compared to TeD's 56. Are we going to start to see a shift in overall supply in terms of the armies, as the Fairy Dragon is now trying to fight back here, trying to Mana Flare as well, a little bit of additional armor. All right, continuing to battle it up. 2 Fairy Dragons going to get picked off, as we saw TeD able to train up 2 additional Crypt Fiends from 2 Crypts. Yes, I was going to say TeD needed to go into dual Crypts in order to keep up with the Crypt Fiend production, as TeD now starting to bounce back up to 62 supply compared to 54. 15 minutes, 15 seconds into this game, a constant tug of war with back and forth action. The Fairy Dragons are upgraded 1-1 compared to 1-0 on those Crypt Fiends. Destroyers are upgraded as well. Lich has plenty of mana, and we are going to be making our plays. So have, like a Storm again. Well, thank you for stopping on by, Like a Storm again. Fairy Dragons getting into position once more. Here we are, poking down onto those Crypt Fiends. Acid Bomb trying to cluster all of those units together. Units are now trying to retreat back. Pocket Factory acting as a little bit of, well, building defense, blocking some of those, blocking some of the retreat, or making it a little bit more narrow as the Crypt Fiend's trying to web down more and more units. Destroyers going to town here, level 3 now on the Goblin Tinker, so 4-3-3 going up against a 4-4 here as the Keeper of the Grove and the Alchemist still coming on strong to try and win out the battle. 66 supply compared to 54. More Crypt Fiends are trying to retreat back here. The Fairy Dragons actually retreating away from the Destroyers as the Alchemist should be able to get the last killing blow onto that Crypt Fiend there. However, Keeper of the Grove going to be in trouble. It gets taken down, and with the Keeper of the Grove taken down during that pursuit, things can start to unravel very quickly for TeD. TeD currently, or sorry, for ReMinD. ReMinD now down to 50 supply here. Fairy Dragons trying to mana flare their way back through, but it looks as though the expansion is about to get taken down. Keeper of the Grove needs to rejoin in on the fight, but if he's resurrected at the tavern, will be low on hit points. Alchemist, Chemical Rage going to try to dive on in once more, trying to go after some of those units. Death Coil Frost Nova onto that 1,000 hit point. A 1,000 hit point Goblin Alchemist. Still, is he going to be able to hold on to this, trying to dive in after all those units? But there are enough Crypt Fiends to perhaps try and web them down and split them apart. No more hit and run tactics. Lich gets up to level 4. And TeD is victorious, getting to level 5 on his Death Knight, level 4 on his Lich, after taking down that Keeper of the Grove. A non-stop tug of war between two powerhouse players, with TeD outlasting his opponent as he was able to trade efficiently. That additional crypt for dual Crypt Fiend production was exactly what TeD needed to reach a critical number on those Crypt Fiends to be able to web down those Fairy Dragons. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.